What's up, football fans, and welcome to this explainer. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is officially underway, and man, Group D just gave us a seriously fascinating tactical showcase to kick things off. We're looking at the opener where the U.S. men's national team took the pitch at the Los Angeles Stadium against Paraguay. If you're looking for a complete, structured breakdown of exactly how this match unfolded, you're in the right place. We're going to go step by step through the tactics, the formations, the goals, and those huge momentum shifts. This isn't just going to be a quick highlight reel, you know? We're diving deep into the data, the strategic choices, and the underlying mechanics that led to what honestly became an absolute blowout on the world stage.
A staggering 4-1 victory for the USA. I mean, the United States didn't just win this game. They completely dismantled their opponents, literally from the opening whistle all the way down to the final seconds of stoppage time. To really grasp the gravity of this, you've got to consider the psychological weight of taking apart a historically gritty South American team on the World Cup stage, right? Paraguay is usually known for their defensive resilience and physical play, yet they were left completely scrambling by the super-aggressive, high-octane American performance. The U.S. just ran the show. They forced Paraguay way out of their comfort zone and dictated the whole spatial dynamic of the pitch. It's a massive, massive opening statement for the red, white, and blue, setting a totally dominant tone for their tournament campaign.
All right, part 1. First half, complete dominance. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this and look at how that early American game plan was actually executed. Basically, it was defined by a totally suffocating high press. Right from the jump, the USA pushed aggressively forward in a really structured block. They simply refused to let Paraguay's midfield find any sort of passing rhythm. And well, you see the immediate result right there at the 6-minute mark. Damian Bobadilla makes a catastrophic error, turning the ball into his own net. But you know, that wasn't really unforced. He was forced into a terrible angle because the American attackers were relentlessly closing down all the viable passing lanes, which basically induced sheer panic in the Paraguayan backline. So boom, dream 1-0 lead. But the US didn't just drop back. By the 30th minute, Folarin Balogun showcases pure tactical brilliance. He doesn't just rely on pace, he perfectly reads a breakdown in Paraguay's offside trap, exploits the blind spot of the center backs, and just slices right through the line for a beautiful finish. Then, deep into stoppage time at 45+4, Balogun strikes again to secure his brace, literally anticipating a defensive lapse before it even happens. Just incredible awareness.
So, the narrative heading into the tunnel at halftime, simple. Absolute demolition. The USA was up 3-0 before the break, and the overwhelming momentum just entirely belonged to the American squad. Let's pause for a second and just consider the psychological weight of a 3-0 deficit at halftime in a World Cup match. It is absolutely crushing. For a Paraguayan team that pretty much relies on staying compact and frustrating opponents, being forced to chase a 3-goal game means they have to abandon their entire identity. They were left in that locker room desperately trying to figure out a way to stop the bleeding, knowing that playing defensively would guarantee a loss, but opening up could lead to a historic rout.
Moving right along to part 2, second half, closing out.
Coming out of the break, Paraguay obviously knew they had zero choice but to change things up. They made several tactical subs to inject fresh legs and shifted their formation, basically fighting fire with fire by pushing heavy numbers forward. They had to test an American defense that, honestly, hadn't been genuinely threatened at all in the first 45. And that persistence finally paid off in the 72nd minute. Substitute Mauricio managed to exploit a super rare gap between the U.S. defensive lines. He finds this dangerous pocket of space inside the box and clinically pulls one back to make it 3-1. It gave Paraguay this brief, kind of desperate glimmer of comeback hope. But rather than collapsing under that sudden pressure, the American defense held remarkably firm, shifting down into a more pragmatic mid-block. Then, deep into secondary stoppage time, the 97th minute, substitute Giovanni Reyna completely capitalizes on Paraguay's overcommitted lines. He picks up the ball in transition and just unleashes an absolute rocket from distance. That goal wasn't just spectacular, it was literally the final nail in the coffin that sealed that emphatic 4-1 victory.
Now for part 3. Match stats and analysis.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it grounds the emotional highs of those goals into cold, hard data. The offensive volume from the American squad was absolutely staggering. 17 total shots, with 6 directly testing the keeper. Conversely, Paraguay was totally neutralized. They were limited to literally one single shot on target for the entire 90 minutes, which, yeah, happened to be the one that actually went in. But the metric that truly defines this match? The United States maintaining an incredibly sharp 91% passing accuracy. I mean, if you follow football, you know that a 91% completion rate in a high-stakes, high-pressure international match is just elite. This level of accuracy means the US wasn't just clearing the ball in a panic or relying on long, hopeful passes. Actually, scratch that. They were surgically orchestrating possession. They were threading the needle,
moving the ball with deliberate purpose and making the Paraguayan players constantly shift and chase.
And that totally illustrates the tactical control born from such crazy passing accuracy. That 91% completion rate translated directly into dictating the game's overall tempo, resulting in 63% total possession. The U.S. wasn't just holding onto the ball for the fun of it. They were literally using possession as a defensive weapon. Think about how suffocating it is for a professional team to only hold the ball 37% of the time. You're constantly reacting. You're expending double the physical energy just trying to close down spaces, and you never really get a moment to breathe or set up your own attacking patterns. When you combine dominant possession with lethal passing accuracy, you have the exact blueprint for the systematic dismantling we just witnessed on the pitch.
So the crucial point here is what exactly happens to a team that's starved of possession, constantly chasing the game, and facing an onslaught of 17 shots. The result is 5 yellow cards. That number represents a really clear cause and effect narrative. It totally showcases Paraguay's sheer systemic frustration. When you spend over 60% of a match basically chasing shadows, it leads directly to heavy legs and intense mental fatigue. Players start arriving, a half second late to tackles. They get pulled way out of position. And eventually, they're forced to commit cynical fouls simply to disrupt the relentless American attack and catch their breath. Those 5 bookings are the physical manifestation of a team that was tactically outclassed and pushed to their absolute physical limits.
Let's see how this all builds into our final section. Part 4, Looking Ahead. Putting 4 goals past a seasoned South American opponent and dominating literally every single statistical category doesn't just earn you 3 points, it sends a massive flashing warning sign to everyone else in the tournament. This was a huge statement of intent from the USMNT. So, the ultimate question now is, can they top Group D? Based on the tactical discipline and lethal execution we just walked through, the potential is undeniably there for sure. I really want you to think about Folarin Balogun's masterful performance today. How would you rate his movement and finishing out of 10? And even more importantly, if the US can maintain this kind of suffocating high press and 90+% passing accuracy against even tougher opponents, just how far do you think this team can actually go in the 2026 World Cup? That's the fascinating question we're left pondering as this tournament heats up. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on the pitch.